Hey everyone, my name is Abhishek and today we are going to create this. So this product animation is done entirely using Blender and it's very easy to create. Now in this tutorial you will learn how to animate your products, how to do some interesting camera movements, then we will see how to set up your scene and how to light it up using an HDRI. All this inside of Blender only. Also, this is the third time I'm recording this tutorial because first time power went off and for the second time Blender crashed and unfortunately I did not save it, so I'm doing it for you guys. So you better hit that like button and make sure to subscribe. So let's jump into Blender and get started. Alright, so right now I'm in Blender and I'm using the 3.6 version, but you can use any version you want. So I've already imported this model which I'm going to use. So this is a Microsoft Surface laptop, and if you want you can use any kind of product, but if you want to use this then I'll put a link in the description from where you can download this, and it's completely free. So you can just go to the Sketchfab and from here you can download this laptop model. Now you have to provide attribute to the artist, and once you have downloaded it you can import it into Blender and you are ready to go. Also, I have already rigged this. So by rigging I mean that I have already aligned a couple of these elements, and now you can see that I can easily move the lid of the screen of this laptop, and I've also parented everything to this main rig using which I can move the entire object at once. Now I'm not going to explain how to do this, but if you want a dedicated video on that, I'll happy to do that. Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you download this 3D model, then you will get all these parts individually and then you can combine them by simply selecting them. Then you can go to object and from here you can join them, different objects which you don't want separate. For example, I want the screen to be separated from this, so I just join all the parts which are in the screen to one layer and all the others to this space, and after that I rigged them using these empty objects. Now before we start animating, there is one more thing that you need. So in order to create these kind of scenes and environments, I'm going to use a free add-on or plugin which is called Biome Reader. Now it's completely free. If you want you can download it. I'll put a link in the description. Now in this video I'm not going to tell you how to install this add-on, but I've already made a video in which I have explained how to use this and I have provided resources on how to install this add-on, so you can check out this video. And if you already installed it, then you can pretty much continue with this one. So once you have installed the add-on, we are ready to add some element. So first we will set up a very basic scene, then we will start animating things around. So in order to add anything using the add-on, you can either select from here a surface, then use the add-on, or you can simply go inside the assets browser. So if I go over here, you can see that we already have a couple of these assets which are installed after you get the add-on. So from this one you can see we have a bunch of different things. So we have a bunch of different rocks, and in order to create the desired look, I'm going to go inside the winter section, and over here you can see we have these winter snow pile. So I'm going to select one of these and you can just simply click and drag, and now you can see that if I let it go, Blender will import it inside the scene. Now I can press S to scale this up. We can press numpad 7. Now let me just quickly turn on the screencast so that you will be able to see all the keyboard shortcuts that I'm pressing over here. So here you will see all the keyboard shortcuts. Perfect. So here we have our surface. Now I'm going to select this, press G, and let's just place it somewhere over here so that the laptop is in the middle. Perfect. So here we are done with this. Now we are going to add a bunch of different these elements, but let's first set up our camera. So I'm going to press Shift A. Let's add a camera. Now you can press numpad 0. Let's press N to see the side view, and from here I'm going to set this to 90, this to 0, and this to 0 as well. Now you can move along the Y space to move a little bit further away, and we can probably make this a little bit up. Now I'm going to go inside the camera properties and I'm going to set the focal length to something like 35, and we can play around with the position, something like that. Perfect. Now we are done with the camera, and before we start animating anything, I'm going to add a surface which is a reflective water surface. Now it's actually quite easy. So in order to do that, I'm going to press Shift A. Let's add a cube. Now let's press numpad 7 and I'm going to press S to scale this up quite a bit, something like that. Now I'm going to press S, Z, and let's just scale this down to something like that, or you can use these properties as well. So we basically want a very thin layer, so I'm going to just make it like that. Perfect. Now we can select this, press GZ, and let's just place it somewhere where it is just touching this surface like that. So this is going to be our reflective water surface. Now in order to make this into the water surface, I'm going to apply a couple of materials. So let's switch to the material preview tab or viewport shading, and over here I'm going to switch to the shader editor. You will see that already the materials are applied on the laptop and this surface. We have to add it over here. So just click on new, and I'm going to call this one water. And once we're done with this, we can probably make a little bit room over here. Press N to hide this out. Perfect. So here we have our surface. First I'm going to change the base color, so let's make this a little bit darker blue, something like that. Now if you have Node Wrangler add-on installed, then you can select this, press Ctrl T to add these nodes. But if you don't have, then you can just simply press Shift A, and you can manually add texture coordinate node, and then you can add Shift A, let's add a mapping node like that. After that, just plug the generated into the vector, and this vector will go into the other node. So let's place it over here. Now in order to make this into a water kind of texture, I'm going to add a Musgrave texture. So let's search for Musgrave. Now let's plug the vector into the vector, and the height will go into the bump node. So again, press Shift A, let's add a bump node. The height, let's plug it into the height. The normal will go into the normal. So right away you can see we are able to little bit of details, and in order to make it really stand out, I'm going to play around with these properties. So let's set this to 1.5 details. I'm going to increase this up to something like 15, and this I'm going to set this to 1.6. So now if I move around, you can see we are able to see a little bit of water kind of thing. Now you can play around with these values. So if I lower this down, the dimensions, you can see we are able to see more water like surface. Again, it's completely up to you, however you want to play with this. So let's keep it over here. In case we want to change it, we can do it later on as well. So now you can see it looks a little bit like water. Now if you want to play around with the scale, or you want to play around with the ripple size, then you can do this using the mapping node, but I think let's leave it over here. Also the water is reflective, so I'm going to go inside over here. Let's crank down the roughness to something like that. Perfect. So here you can see we have the water. We can play around with it later on. Now let's add some animation to the object, and later on we will add bunch of different elements to make this stand out. So I'm going to go to the timeline, and we already have set this to like 40 frames. So let's go to the very beginning, and first I'm going to animate this laptop screen. So I basically want this to start from the bottom where the lid is closed, and then I want it to like move up in the air, and the lid will open. So let's select this, press RX, and I'm going to just close this up like that. Perfect. Now I'm going to select this, press GZ. Let's move this little bit up so that it's barely on the surface like that. Perfect. Now in the beginning, I'm going to add keyframe for both of these. So let's select this, press N, and let's add a keyframe for all of these. Let's press I, and now let's go to somewhere around 40, and we are going to just animate this so that it's over here. So I'm going to set this to 0, right click, insert single keyframe, so that we have this lid opening animation. Now we are going to make the laptop to go up in the air. So I'm going to select this, and let's go to the Z property, and let's right click, add a single keyframe. Let's go to 40, and I'm going to just move it to the air like that. So yeah, I think this looks perfect. Right click, add a single keyframe. Now I also want this to rotate a bit. So let's select this, and I'm going to right click, insert keyframes for all of these. Let's go over here, and I think, yeah, we have the XY axis. So let's just rotate it like that. So right click, insert single keyframe. Now if you don't want the other keyframes, then you can right click and just clear single keyframe, which we are not using. So here we only have these animation. Now if I play back, you can see we have our laptop going up and it is opening. Perfect. Now in order to make this animation a little bit interesting, I'm going to play with the graph editor, or let's go and open it up. Let's open up the graph editor. So we basically want the animation to start really slow, and then we want this to like move very fast, and when it is at the maximum point, that's when we will add a cut to the next scene so that it looks seamless. Now it's actually quite easy to do. So let's select this and make sure that normalize is checked, otherwise you will have a little bit variation, or you will have to like zoom in, zoom out quite a bit. Now in the beginning we want this to start really slow, so I'm going to select this and let's press S, and I'm going to just increase this up like that. Now this one I'm going to select this, press S and 0, so you can see that it starts very slow and then it goes up very quick. Now we can do the same thing, so press S and let's increase this up like that. Select that, press S0, perfect. Now let's select this inner one and let's do the same thing, so press S and let's increase this up. Select this, press S0. So now you can see that all of these will start really slow, and you can see that they move very fast over here, which is exactly what we want. So before we continue, if you enjoy my content and you want to support me, then you can join my Patreon page. Over there you will get access to the tutorial project files and exclusive templates that are available only on Patreon. So make sure to check it out. Link for that is in the description. So let's continue. So now let's do some camera animation as well. So let's go back to the timeline. So for the camera, we basically want two movements. We want the camera to move forward as well. Also, we want it to rotate around this object as well. Now, in order to do the rotation part, we can add an empty object. So press Shift A. Let's go to empty, and I'm going to add a plane axis. Let me just quickly save the project file. Also, don't forget to save your projects. Now we have the empty. I'm going to press S. Let's increase this up so that we can see it easily. Now we are going to parent the empty and the camera. So first select the camera. Now press Shift and let's select this. Now you can press Ctrl P and let's parent them by keeping the transform. Now you can see that if I select the empty and press R, Z, and you can see that we can rotate the camera using the empty as well. So basically we want this, but let's add it over here. So I'm going to start somewhere around here. So let's right click, insert single keyframe. Now we might have to change the position of the camera and everything depending upon where we want the final result. But for now, I'm going to just leave everything and just create some simple animation. So we have this camera. Now I want this to move forward as well. Now it's actually quite easy. All we have to do is just animate the Y position. So in the beginning, I'm going to insert single keyframe. Let's go somewhere around here. Now we can press numpad 0 to get inside the camera. Now over here we can pan in a little bit like that. Right click, insert single keyframe. Now let's do one more thing. Let's add a little bit of movement to the z-axis as well, because you can see that as our object is moving, we want the camera to look up as well. So we can insert a single keyframe, and as I move over here, we can just move it that bit over here. Perfect. So now if I play back, you can see we have this very nice motion, and yeah, I think this is looking perfect. Now we can do the same thing. So let's open up the graph editor and S0. So we can select this, press S, and let's increase this up like that. So you can see that it starts very slow and then it goes like that. Now let's select this, and I'm going to do the same thing. So select this, press S0, and let's select this, press S, and let's increase this up like that. So here you can see we have this very nice animation. Now I don't want this to be this much tilted, so let's just add it over here. Perfect. Now we are ready to add some elements to see how this looks. So let's get out of this, and we are going to go inside the asset browser. Now we can add bunch of different elements in the foreground as well. So you can see that this part is empty. So I'm going to add a bush over here. So let's select this one and just simply drag. You can see that we have already added it. Now if I press numpad 0, you can see we have the object. Now if I move around the timeline, we can play around with its position, scale, and everything. So let's select this and just play around with its position. Let's move it closer to the camera. So let's place it over here like that, so we can see a little bit of laptop screen, something like that. So I think this looks good. Maybe we can just move it a little bit down. Perfect. So I think this looks good. Now we can select the water as well, so we can move it like closer, something like this. Perfect. Now we can add bunch of different elements, so let's add a bush to this side as well. So again, we can go to the asset browser and let's select this one, and I'm going to just place it over here. Again, we can switch to timeline, or we can do one more thing. Let's add one more area, and over here let's add the timeline. Perfect. So we are moving, and here we have our second bush. Again, it's completely up to you. You can just place them wherever you want. Just make sure that these are not distracting and actually looks a part of the scene only. So yeah, I think this looks fine. Perfect. Now I want a couple of the rocks at the back, and over here we have a couple of these rocks. So I'm going to select these winter rocks and let's just simply drag them. Now you can see that all of these materials are already applied. So I'm going to select this, press S to increase this up. Now I want this to be at the back, so let's just move it around here. Let's increase this up. We can get outside the camera, press RZ to rotate it. Just add it wherever you want. Let's place it over here. Now we can go to the very beginning. So you can see that we have added the rock. I think this looks perfect. We can add a tree over here as well. So let's go inside. We have the tree and we can pick whatever we want. So let's select this one and let's drag it over here. So we have added our tree. Now this might not be visible because we have to switch to the cycles in order to make it visible. So let me just quickly do that. So for rendering engine, I'm going to use the cycles, but it's completely up to you. You can use EV as well. So once everything is done, I'm going to switch to the shading viewport. So we have our tree over here. So I'm going to select it and press GZ, and let's just place this little bit down like that. Now it's completely up to you. You can play around with its position. So GX, let's place it over here. Now again, this might be a little bit slow. So we basically want to see our scene. And yeah, I think this looks fine. Now you will notice that I already have added the HDRI, but you won't have this. So let me just quickly tell you about that. So if I switch this to the shading editor like that, and over here right now we are using the object coordinate. So I'm going to switch to the world, and you can see that we already have this HDRI. So I'm going to quickly delete this. So if I go to the shading tab, you will have something like this, or maybe little bit of lighting over here, but instead of anything we are going to add our own. So press Shift A, let's add an environment texture and just click on open. Now I'm going to use one of these HDRIs which I downloaded from Polyhaven. Again, it's completely up to you. I'll put a link in the description from where you can download these for free. I'm going to use this one, the Lost City. So just simply double click on it. Now we have added it. Now we can't plug the color directly into the surface because this is yellow in color and this is green. So for that we need a background node. So press Shift A, let's add a background. Now here you can see we can connect the color to this and the background will go to the surface. Perfect. So here you can see now we have the lighting. If you want, you can play around with the strength to make this like really bright. Now there's one more thing that you can do. You can select this. Now if you have Node Wrangler add-on install, or you can again select, press Shift A and then search for texture coordinate node and then mapping node. Or if you have Node Wrangler installed, then you can select this, press Ctrl T, and you will already have these. So if you want, you can play around with the angle of the HDRI to get really nice lighting. So for example, now the light is coming from the back side. So you can play around with it however you want. But I think yeah, this angle looks fine. So I'm going to just leave it to 0. Yeah, I think this looks fine. Perfect. So here we have our scene. Let me just go back to this view so that we can do a little bit more changes. Now once you're done with the scene, again you can add more elements if you want. You can have bushes over here, but I think yeah, this looks fine. We don't want too much distraction. Now if you want to change the color of these trees like I have done in the example, it's actually quite easy. Let's select this and let's switch this from world to object. And let me just quickly open this up. Here you can see we have a bunch of different nodes like that which we can use, or we can just simply plug this out. from the surface because we don't want that. Instead, you can just simply add a principal BSDF, and let's plug the BSDF into the surface, and now you can just simply change the color to whatever you want. So let's select this. Now you can add a little bit of metallic to that, and you can play around with the roughness like this. Now we can go back to the rendered view, and here you can see we have changed the color of these elements as well. In the same way, you can change the color of the back tree as well. So if I move over here, we have the tree. Now if I click on that, here you can see we have again the same kind of thing. So we can plug everything out. Let's add press Shift A. Let's search for principal BSDF. Now you can copy the BSDF from the earlier example, or you can just simply pick the color from here as well. So let's make this like that. Roughness, we can lower this down. So I think rest of things are pretty much the same. So we can switch back to over here. Now if I play back, you can see we have this animation, and I think this looks perfect. So we are pretty much done with this, but there is one more thing. You can see that the background is not looking that good. So in order to fix that, we can add an image. So let me just quickly get out of this. Now if you want to add a custom background, you can do this thing. So press Shift A, let's go to image, and I'm going to add image as a plane. So let's click on that. Now I'm going to use this image which I downloaded from Unsplash. Again, you can just simply go to unsplash.com, and from here you can search sky. You will get a bunch of different images, and you can use any of these. So I'm using this one which goes with our scene. So once you're done with this, just simply select the image, and you can see that it has added the image. Now press S to scale this up, and I'm going to press G, Y. Let's move it further apart. Let's press S to scale this up, again G, Z, and I'm going to just move it to the top so that we can see the horizon and everything. Now let's get out. Now if I play back, you can see we have this image at the background. Now you will have to fix these points where we are able to see the background, something like that. Now if I go back to the rendered view, you can see we have this very nice image at the background. You might have to play around with the position like that so that the horizon meets the endpoint like this. So now you can see we have this seamless look. So if I play back, you can see we have our laptop coming in, and we have everything already set up. So again, you can see we have this water and we have the reflection. Now if you want to play around with its properties as well, you can do that. So if you want this to be a little bit more reflective, you can set the roughness to 0 all the way down to 0. Again, you can play around with the details if you want less or more like that. So for example, if you want more ripples, then you can go with this look, but I want a little bit more like that, or maybe something around here. Again, all of these are experimentals. You can just play around with them however you want. So I think this looks good. So here you can see we are done with our scene, and we are done with the animation. Now our last step is to render this out. So it's actually quite easy. So you can go inside the rendering option. From here, first we are going to make sure that the denoise is checked, and over here make sure the sample is something like 3264 depending upon your system. You don't want to crank this all the way up. Now make sure that the denoise is checked, and rest of the things will remain same. If you want, you can add a little bit of contrast. Let's go to the color management, and instead of none, we can add like high contrast. So you can see that now it's a bit contrasty. Again, this is a personal preference, or you can set this to none. So once you're done with this, let's go over here. Rest of things will remain as it is. Make sure that the frame rate is whatever you want. You can set it at 24. So it starts from 1 and the end frame is 40. Now you can pick a location where you want to save the output files, and we are going to use the RGB 16-bit, and rest of things will remain pretty much same. So once you're done with this, all you have to do is just go to render and click on render animation, and after that Blender will go to each frame and will render out sequence of images which you can combine to make a video file in Blender or in After Effects or any other compositing software. So this is how you can create the scene 1. Now you will notice that this starts very slow and this ends very fast. Now in the same way, we are going to create the second scene, but in second scene we are going to start very fast and then we are going to end very slow. So let's see how to do that. So in order to do that, you can either simply select this composition or this collection. Let me just quickly select all of these and let's place inside the collection. Now you can select the collection, right click, and you can duplicate the collection. Now we have the same collection. All of these elements are duplicated twice. So we can select this one and I'm going to just turn this off like that. Now we have this collection, and over here just select the camera, press numpad 0 so that this camera is activated now. Perfect. Now we can make changes to this scene, and the scene 1 which we have over here is like will remain untouched. Now in the scene 2, I basically want the laptop to be opened up already. I want it to like flip completely. So let's quickly do that. So we don't need any of these animations. So let's select all of these, press X to delete the keyframes. Let's select this one. Let's select all of these, press X, delete keyframe. Also, I don't want the animation on this axis, this empty axis. So let's select everything, press X to delete. Camera as well, we can select this, press X to delete. Perfect. So now you can see we have got rid of all of these keyframes. Now we can select the camera. Let's go to the view, and I'm going to lock the camera to view. So now if I press numpad 0, so you can see that we are already inside the camera number 1. So make sure that this camera is selected. Now let's press Ctrl and numpad 0. Now you can see that we are inside this camera, which is inside this collection. Now you can move around the viewport, and you can see that as I'm moving, the camera is moving with itself. So let's pick a really nice angle. So somewhere around here, like that. Now I want the laptop to start from here, and I want it to like go up and like fold out completely. So let's quickly first do that. So let's select this, and we want the animation around the z-axis. So I want this to rotate as well. So right click, insert single keyframe, and let's go to somewhere around 40. But first let's animate this. So let's select this, and this is like the x-axis. So I'm going to right click, insert single keyframe. Let's go over here, and I'm going to just move it all the way to the back, somewhere around here. So right click, insert single keyframe. So we have this sort of animation. Now you can see that our object is folding around. So we basically want this to rotate and to move up as well. So first let's do the moving up animation. So right click, insert single keyframe, and as it is moving, I'm going to just move it up a little bit. Right click, insert single keyframe. So here you can see we have this. Now it is touching the bottom part, so we can probably fix that. So in the beginning we can just move it like up, right click, replace single keyframe, and after that we can just move it a little bit more up, right click, insert, replace single keyframe, like that. Now I also want the surface to rotate along the z-axis as well. So let's select this, and let's pick a point. So let's get out of this camera. Now first I'm going to pick a point, so somewhere around here. Let's animate the camera. So I'm going to select the empty which we have for the camera. So if I get out, so I think I deleted the empty, so we can again quickly add that. So press Shift A, let's add a plane axis. Let's press S to increase this up. Let's select the camera, hold on Shift key, let's select the empty. Now you can press Ctrl P, and let's parent them with keeping the transform. So now we can press RX. Yeah, so we have the empty. Now we can animate its Z position or the Z rotation. Now right click, insert single keyframe. Let's go 40, and I'm going to just like move around. Right click, insert single keyframe. Here you can see we have the movement, and we can add the movement to the Z position as well. So right click, insert single keyframe, and as it is moving we can just move it so that it's in the center. Perfect. Now if you want, you can play around with the position as well. So I'm going to insert keyframe basically for all of these, so that at least the final position is in the middle. Right click, insert single keyframe. So I think this looks fine. And there's one more thing, I don't like this angle of the laptop, so we can add the animation to the y-axis as well. So right click, insert single keyframe, and let's go over here, and we can probably move it like that. Right click, insert single keyframe. So yeah, I think this animation looks much better because the final frame or the look or the angle is looking nice. Perfect. So let's set up our scene right now. So we can again select couple of these elements and then just simply move around. So we already have the tree, and over here this looks empty, so I'm going to select this, press G, and let's just place it over here like that. Now in the beginning you can see that we have this plant, so we can move it out like that. Now we have this. Again, it's completely up to you. If you don't want any element, you can just simply delete it. We are pretty much done with this. Let me just quickly go to the rendered view, and I think this looks fine, but I don't like the tree over here as well, so we can probably select this and let's move this far away. Let me just quickly get out of this view and let's move it far away somewhere around here. So we have our laptop. Yeah, I think this angle is much better. We are pretty much done with all of these animations, and our next step is to just simply play around with the easing. So you remember we started very slow and then we had this very fast movement. So over here we are going to do the opposite thing. We are going to start very fast and we are going to have the slow movement at the end. So again we can select this and let's go to the graph editor. So let's open up graph editor. Again, make sure to click on the normalize. Now you can press home to see everything. So this time we want this to start very fast. So I'm going to select the start and press S0. Let's do the same thing. Select this, press S0. Now I'm going to select this, press S, and let's increase this up. Select this, press S, and let's increase this up. Perfect. So this movement is starting very fast and then it slows down, and we can do the same thing with all of these as well. So let's select these and let's press S0. Let's select this, press S0. Let's select these endpoints, press S and make it like that. Press S and press S and let's make it like that. Perfect. So we have these animations, and let's select the smaller one, press S0, and let's this one, press S, and let's increase this up. Just make sure to do this on all of these. So now if I go inside the camera and let's play it, you can see that the animation is starting very fast and then it goes like that. Maybe we can do one more thing. Let's select this and I want this to be like a little bit more closed. Right click, replace single keyframes. So yeah, I think this looks much better. Perfect. So here we have our second animation. Now there's one more thing you will notice, that our background is like not moving. So we have the background over here, and as it is moving to this side, you can see that we have the empty background, but we want the same background like following the camera or the angle. So it is actually quite easy. Let me just quickly select this and let's just place it over here so that this is like that. Let's press S to increase this up. I'm basically matching the horizon. So if I press GZ, so I'm matching this line with this portion. So GZ, let's place it over here. Perfect. Now if I get out of this, now we have this portion and I'm going to press RZ and let's just rotate it like that. Perfect. GZ like this. Now we can select this object and we can select this and just parent them so that this is moving with the camera. Now in order to parent it, I'm going to select the image first and then press shift and select this empty, then press Ctrl P and parent it by keeping the transform. Now if I move, you can see that our background is moving with the camera. So this basically means that we will be able to see the background all the time like that. Perfect. Now we can play around with its rotation and like everything. So I'm going to just rotate it like that. Just play around with its position. Perfect. Now if you want to see how it's looking, you can just simply go over here like that. Now you will notice that this turns dark because we don't have any light at this angle. Again, if you want, you can play around with the HDRI as well. So let me just quickly select this and let's go to the world tab. Now as we are moving to this side, I am going to play around with the HDRI. So let's play with the Z position like that. So here you can see we have the light and we have no light over here as well. So I think, yeah, this effect is looking nice, but if you want to have the light like all around, then you can animate the Z position of the HDRI as well. Now I just want the angle to be right, something like that. So I think this is looking fine, and I like this going darker effect, which makes our object like really in the focus. Now you will notice one more thing, that as we are rotating, you can see that the water is not looking good. So we can parent the water with the empty as well. So let's select the water first, press shift, and let's select the empty, press Ctrl P and object and keep transform. Now you will notice that the water is moving with the surface as well. We can select the water and I'm going to just rotate it so that we have this flat edge all the time. Perfect. So now you can see that we are not getting any hard edges for the water. We can probably select this, press GZ, so that as we are moving, you can see that the water surface is moving as well. So we can select this, press GZ, and let's just place it at the top. So now if I play back, you can see we have fixed our water as well, and we have the background. So we are pretty much done with the second scene. So again, you can render it out using the same settings. All you have to do is just simply change the location where you want to save the scene to, and after that just go to render and click on render animation. So once you're done with this, you can just import them in After Effects and you can combine it to create a really nice scene. Let me just quickly show you. So this is my After Effects project which I created for this. So once you have saved the image sequence, all you have to do is just quickly right click, import, go to file, and then just simply go to wherever you have saved the image sequence. Just select the first image, make sure that the PNG image sequence is selected and click on import. Now you will notice that After Effects will import it like that. So here you can see we have the scene. Let me just quickly select this and hide these out. So here you can see we have the scene where we have the laptop coming in, and in the same way you can have the scene 2, which I have already imported, and you can just simply place it and have it over here. So you can see that it is starting very slow and then it goes fast, and where we have the maximum speed we have this really nice cut, so that both of these scenes are looking seamless like that. So this is how you can create a match cut effect, and you can transition between two scenes, and you can just simply set up however you want. So this is how you can create these kind of product animations, and you can use these techniques to basically animate any product you want. So I hope you learned something from this video. Also, the project files for this tutorial is available on Patreon. So if you are supporting me over there, then you can download it from there. And if you are not, then you might consider it, because you will get access to the tutorial project files and exclusive templates that are available only on Patreon. So make sure to check it out. So with that being said, my name is Abhishek and I'll see you in the next one.